Welcome back to a brutal Europa playthrough, episode number 7. In this episode, I'm going to build an advanced furnace that does not leak heat into the environment, track down some nickel and some more iron, make some Invar, and finally get my heavy mining tool and arc welder, an upgraded tool belt, and mining belt. Here I'm grabbing some components that I'll use for making the advanced furnace configuration. So I'm just kind of grabbing what's there that might be useful before going out. It's been a while since I've set up an advanced furnace like this, but the technique for preventing any heat loss still works. The trick is to contain it within a box, not a frame, but a box of steel with steel walls in it, and the gas inside must be over 100 kilopascals, and it must be below 300 kilopascals. If it goes over 300 kilopascals, it will break through the steel walls, which are rated at 300. And so what happens is that the gas inside will heat up the gas around the furnace that's contained by the box. And when it heats up, it obviously expands. And at some point it'll hit equilibrium to the furnace temperature, and the gas temperature outside the furnace will match, and then it stops leaking. So to do this, we need to put a mechanism in here that we can bleed out any excessive gas so we don't rupture the steel walls. In the old days, you could just put the whole thing in a steel frame and it didn't leak, but they changed that a while ago. And then you could also put it in a vacuum. They changed that, and that doesn't work. And it can't just be a little bit of gas. It has to be of over, I believe, over 100 kilopascals for my testing. So they allow you to still do the technique, but you just have to work for it. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to build out a little platform to set up the furnace. Now, I'm not just doing the furnace, I'm also going to use an insulated tank so I can move gas between the furnace and the insulated tank. So for example, a number of these super alloys require very precise pressures, and once you get it within the right temperature range, then you just have to move gas between the furnace and the insulated tank that sits outside of it. And if it's too cold, you can always just go ahead and add more volatiles to it, and oxide or nitrics, heat it up. If it's too hot, then you have a couple options. If the gas sitting in the tank is actually a lower temperature, you can move it over. I'm also going to have another hookup so I can actually bring in atmospheric air into the system if need be. So make a nice little wide platform. I can set all this up, have a little room to work with it. Organize my items, what I need and don't need. Technically, you could do this with iron walls, but then you only have a 200 kilopascal limit before they take damage. So with the steel walls, you have a little more time. Now you could contain most of the sides with frames, which have, I believe, unlimited pressure, but you're still stuck with the facing of it still requiring an iron sheet, so you can't get away with that. Now this design allows access to the control panel, so you can still operate it directly. I guess in theory you put the whole thing in one big massive set of frames and then use automation to control it remotely. I've never tried that before. And it requires one electronic part. And once we have this set up and it's at a certain temperature, we don't have to worry about cooling off. That said, the ore will degas, so as you throw ore in there, it will degas, which will lower the temperature of the furnace. So one solution to that is to have a separate degassing mechanism. Can be solved different ways. You can even use an arc furnace for that. If you're doing super alloys, you can use an arc furnace to do the degassing. You can set up another simple furnace and just run things through that just to do the degassing. In this case, it's not, at this stage of the game, it's not that big of a deal if it cools down. And what I'll do when I do the super alloys, I'll start with the hottest first and work my way down the temperature scale. That way, as it cools down from doing the previous super alloys, it kind of works down. So it actually works to your benefit. And if you never repeat the cycle, then I just empty the whole thing out and go ahead and reload it with more volatiles and oxide and start over again. You know, when on a planet with like almost unlimited volatiles and oxide, it does make a lot of scenarios much easier. Now, all this should be common knowledge. This technique has been used by many people, so it's not anything special. I was just curious if it still worked after all this time, and it still does. Here's my insulated tank and a valve. And the valve is so we have one valve connected to the insulated tank and one valve connected to a passive vent, so we can direct where the flow of the yeah, there's a rotation indication there. I didn't use it. I kept hitting C. Now this could be made a lot more compact. I'm just spacing it all out just because I have the room, and if I want to change it around or do something else, I have the space involved. Now you do have to be careful and not close both valves and then run the pump in the furnace. Now this is the vent that will be inside the box. And since we're going to be moving gas in both directions, we want to hook up both input and output. And need a few more insulated pipes. Now, I should not need any, there should be no liquids involved in this furnace, but I figured, well, I'll make a few pipes and I'll run it out of the box. And so in the future, for some reason, I decide to put liquids in there somehow, you know, you put it at a low temperature and use it to melt a whole bunch of ice for some reason. I don't have to crack it open. I already have the pipes there, so we'll just put that there. This is more of a experimental type of setup with lots of room and pipes everywhere, and you can access as needed. And then this will run this. So this is what we'll use to move the gas out of the box area if it's overpressurized. Okay, so we got to get our, we need a back regulator on there. And that way, if the pressure is too high, we'll create some meters too, so we don't have to break out the tablet to read the pipes. I need 2 gas meters and 1 liquid. And it's night already. I still haven't got around to timing the day-night cycle. Although when it's dusk and you can barely see any light, I wonder if that actually counts for the day cycle. Alright, so we'll leave that one open. Leave the other one closed for now. Look, just checking everything. And yeah, we need regulator there. Now what I'll initially do, because when you first fire it up, the gas will heat and expand very quickly because, you know, it's pretty cold and we'll make the furnace pretty hot. So I'll actually drop it down to about 10 kilopascals initially before we fire it up. So sort of pre-reduce the pressure in there, and then once I get it down to 10, then I'll set it to like 130 something. And we'll just cable it down this way. Fix that up. Checking everything out. Oh, I'm gonna need some chutes on there too. I did have a concern that since I have O2 in there and I have the chutes to make it very hot, will the chutes themselves actually, you know, catch on fire or not? But apparently they don't. Although, and the wiring is not enclosed, so then the wire is actually running through there. It's on the edge, which I guess doesn't count. And we got a storm. Yeah, unfortunately now it's makes the video part more difficult. So I'm sort of split between, do I just go inside and sit there until the storm's over and make you suffer through the video quality, although it's not too bad now. I mean, I'm just putting in, you know, duct work, so it shouldn't be anything too surprising. And I'm short 2 ducts, or 2 chutes, should I say. So I consider maybe something I can do inside that's useful. Yeah, I was kind of thinking of the battery. Yeah, they're growing. I'll wait till it seeds and then I'll go ahead. Not too much of my view. It seems like the storm graphics is better. Now I haven't done I really haven't done Europa before in a storm, so I'm not sure if that's how Europa always looked like in a storm. So looked around, not much to do in there. Oh, you can see a gap in the door. That's interesting. Never noticed that before. Just checking those vents. Okay, well, I figure we'll try to do something to make progress. There's always a danger of something flying out. I gotta catch it just as it comes out. And got it. Okay. And because of the storm, it's slower to move through this. Speaking of storms, I saw an interesting suggestion someone had. They said, if you're out in the storm, your suit should take damage. A little bit of damage while you're in the storm. This is interesting. Probably would make sense. Okay, so I made a mistake. So I can't reach the top. So I have to take one of the walls back down again because I have to put a sheet on the top piece. Because the walls are up, I can't get through it, so I kind of remember that. And I can't obviously fly up there to do it from the top with the storm hitting. So we'll take that sheet off and do that. Now we zap that. Trying to be careful here, so it just pokes out a little bit. So I move it out like a one small grid out. Okay, I think we're ready to go here. So we want to drop this down to 10. Turn that on, so we'll stop lowering the pressure there. And although I think. No, I guess I was thinking the storm lowers the pressure a little bit. Not sure. No, yeah, it does. It's 35 kilopascals right now outside, and typically it's like what 46. So the pressure went down, then it got colder. Which I guess makes sense. As the air is colder, it'd be less dense. Or less pressure, should I say. Okay, so one thing, I sort of misplanned the Invar thing. Invar requires iron and nickel. And I'm pretty much out of, I used up all my nickel. Since I had all this nickel, I'll use up to make the, I think it was a constant. So I used all that up. So we have to go mining, and we can't mine right now. So the furnace is set up. Just as well, if I just had a little bit of nickel, you know, I can do a nice big batch, so I don't have to sit there and keep running smelting runs. And we'll make a portable light for inside. Well, speaking of lights, I didn't realize, I was looking through the list of lights, there's a light you can hang on a wall and it runs off a battery. So the standard light has a option, you scroll around, oops, oop, taking damage. But you can just hang down, I didn't realize that, I could have just made a couple of those and popped them all on the wall and just made a bunch of little batteries and turned them on for light. So in anything future in dark, I think I'll do that. Something new they added. It's a lot of little things they've added over the year, because it's been like a year since I've last been on here. And go ahead while waiting for the storm to end, so I'm gonna make some more hydroponic trays. We'll need those. I wish they gave you more seeds than just potatoes, a more varied number of seeds. You're really forced to go with the trader, and I'm not a big fan of the trader. I know there's people who love the trader, people who don't like the trader. I'm in the I don't like the trader aspect of it. If I just had a good selection of seeds, you know, I don't need the really fancy stuff, but at least these soybean and wheat, that would be enough to create the basics. And then, but we just get potatoes, so we have to. So we're stuck eating baked potatoes until we get a trader, unfortunately. Okay, we do some inside work. Make sure it's turned off. Looking around. Okay. And we got seeds. All right. Good timing on the hydroponics. So, of course, I have the filler right in the way. I knew when I put that down there it was in the way, but I figured it's simple enough to move. I think I'll mount a fountain later on and not bother with the bottles anymore. Probably collect all the bottles and all the empty bottles and just go ahead and throw them in the furnace and get rid of them. Okay, so those three will give us 9 in the next cycle of planting. So pull seed, seed, seed. And then we get 2 potatoes. Plant 1. And the storm is over. Alright, so that seemed to grow reasonably fast, and I'm going to actually add even more hydroponics going the other way into the expanded area. So, so 3 gives us 9, and 9 gives us what? 27? Mm-hmm. Okay, get this thing going. Try this out. Yeah, I know you can put it in your suit or put it in your belt or things like that to give you better lighting without your suit on. I think that's a little cheesy. Given the size of this, you're not going to walk around this thing in your pocket. So I don't do that. I'll just set it up. So if you're going to comment, say, oh, just put it in your belt. It's not my style. Okay, let's finish off the almost empty one. There's no reason at this point to have any water. Once I have the water, the fountain put in, probably just drink all the bottles and just toss them all into the furnace and just get rid of them. Because there's no real need. I mean, I have to really F up to have to fall back to water bottles at this point. You know, I really like the view. Europa is a really nice looking planet. I jumped into the moon and looked at that, and the moon looks so yucky. It's just all gray and dark. And I just can't. Mars, I tried to look at Mars too, and Mars doesn't look too bad. I could probably deal with Mars. But the moon is just, yeah, it's all gray. Too much gray. Although I think with Mars you get a bit of a haze in the atmosphere too. So here we got a really clear sky. You can really see a good distance away. All right, so this is down to 10. So we can turn that off, and then we're going to crank this up. And we crank it up now because if we overshoot and gets a little high, we'll just drop it. I just do 135 just because it sounds like a good number. Because if it's if you do exactly 100 and the temperature drops a little bit, then the pressure goes down and then you'll leak into it, which I guess heats it back up again. So probably 150 might have been a better number. Because what I'll do is once it hits its max temperature, which would be around, I don't know, 18, at least you standard 1800 Celsius or Kelvin, one or two. Then you have your max, and it'll remove any extra pressure at that point. All right, so we're hunting for, we need nickel, which maybe we won't find it, and we need iron, because it requires iron and nickel. So here we are. All right, so we're going to do the speedy mining thing. So I found a big chunk of, that's why I clean out my backpack and stuff. So this should be the last original mining tool mining trip. I could have made the Mark II mining belt, which gives you a lot more room. But I figure if I make it too big, then I get annoyed. I figure, well, I just need nickel and iron, and I want to focus on that, so I can upgrade the mining tool. So then I can just build them all in one shot. Looking for nickel, yeah. So if you're playing this scenario and you find nickel, dig it out when you find it. And I pull the tracker out because I don't want to get too far from the base. And there it is over there, so I'm reasonably close. I mean, way out in the boonies when I finally find something. Although closer to the base I'm at, the more likely I mined it out. And there's some nickel, just one piece on the surface. So we found a big chunk of nickel here. That's good. So we can make a big batch of Invar and not to muck with it. Unfortunately, a lot of super alloys also use nickel, so I'm going to use up most of my nickel for the Invar. So we'll have to go out hunting again for nickel again and other things, but I'll have the better mining tool by then. So that'll be next, is making all the super alloys, and once I have that, I can make sensor glasses and then all the other cool things. And here we are running back to the base. I'm getting better with the tracker, I'll tell you that. All right, so we got quite a bit full load of iron and nickel and little residual volatiles there. And we can swap our battery out. Also want to get nuclear batteries. That'll be nice. I'm sort of like putting the fractional ones down here. I'll speed up my ore sorting. I'm not sure if I want to create heavy suit. I mean, it gives you more room. Heavy jetpack. I guess I can do the jetpack. The jetpack doesn't impact hygiene because a heavy suit will burn through your hygiene faster than a light suit. But I can update my jetpack because that doesn't impact hygiene. Okay, so we got it hot. Now we're just going to toss everything in. Now for, did I look it up? Invar has a very particular temperature and pressure range. So it's between 1.2 kilokelvins and, or should I say, 1200 Kelvin to 1500 Kelvin. And the pressure has between 18 megapascals to 20 megapascals. So because we have the tank on the other side, we can move gas back and forth. So what we want to do is go over 20 megapascals and over the temperature. And the temperature, and what happened when I got the temperature and then I threw all that ore in, when it degassed, it lowered the temperature, which is what I wanted. So I'm actually really close. So I'm just going to take this ice, which is just sitting there, which is nitrix, which in theory will combust if there's any volatiles in there. Just kind of assume it's all been burned up. Just to cool down a little bit, which it did. Now I just need to move gas. So I'm moving gas from the advanced furnace into the tank in the back. And once I get, and boom, piece of cake. And now, okay, something I discovered is if I set the output all the way up, it can't get through that valve fast enough. It outflows the valve on the other side. I looked at the temperature. Now, temperature is not dropping, so I checked the temperature many times, and it doesn't actually drop. So it's working, keeping it nice and warm. I mean, at least it's not losing temperature while I'm just not using it, even though obviously if I throw stuff in there, it will drop. Yeah, I gotta make some more steel, a lot of steel at some point. All right, it's magic time. Gotta grovel through the other printers for the other items, alloys. Now this is set to 50, so I had big chunks in there, so it's going to create a bunch of little pieces now, which is probably a good thing. We need that. And what else we need? Oh, all right. We finally, what is it, day 20? Ugh, took forever. While that's printing, go ahead and clean up the base a little bit. Don't have it floating around. I want to kick it into the out of the base. All right. Now we get our. Oh, which arc folder did I make? Did I make the wrong one? I wanted the arc 2. The other one's faster, I think. Oh yeah, I made the wrong one. Oh well. I didn't even notice that. Okay, I'll have to remake the other one. Maybe we can sell it to a trader. I want to put a large battery in the arc welder, so we'll make another large battery. Yeah, I need to make some more steel, as I said before. Okay. There's our sensor glasses, which we cannot make yet. And tool belt. Okay, so mining, yeah, the batteries get thrown out. Yeah, I'm really disappointed I built the wrong arc welder. Oh well. Probably would have gone through the rest of the game with the wrong one and never really noticed it. And throw the stuff in our new tool belt. Try to maintain the same general pattern. So we got room for, now you just got room to keep the heavy cable in the belt there. I'm just going to throw the extra stuff in here for now. Yeah, going next episode, I need to go ahead and just top off my jetpack. I figure I'm just going to put something outside and just take the atmosphere and fill it up. I'm a little excited about doing some mining now. Just turn everything off. These advanced ones burn up quite a bit of power when they idle. And it's locked in there, it's not dropping. So this is actually the reason they added the degassing effect. People will get their furnace nice and hot, and then you just load all the stuff in it, and they kind of just ignore the whole process. So they had made it a little more difficult by adding the degassing process. Now, if you're on a warm planet, then automatic degassing, because you can have a furnace sitting outside, nice and warm, and just the like on Venus or Vulcan, there's enough temperature there, you can just degas stuff without doing anything special. That won't work on Europa. Speed of stuff. In general, my first impression of the heavy mining tool is that if you're just mining like the terrain itself, it didn't seem, or the simple stuff, it didn't seem that much faster. But if you're doing something like gold, it definitely was faster with gold. So that's my impression. It's like they made general, they didn't change the rate of just mining in general, but when you hit something, like gold, they made that process faster, is my impression. I probably have to go get the other mining tool and switch back and forth a few times to see how they both feel. But definitely, and cobalt, yeah, we'll need cobalt. So mine all that, sort of opportunity there. Oh, I found some more ice. So we're just going to mine the crap out of the ice while we're here. And we dropped a piece of ice on the bottom there. Yeah, you don't get the coloring when you have the ice layer. You just have the snow layer on the top. And make a jump and go flying in the air. Use a jetpack to come back down again. Let's double check it. Nope, hasn't moved. Got a lot of silver. That's good. And we'll zip through the ore sorting. I'll just roll this ore around, and then I'll go ahead and make another CO2 filter for my suit there to keep up with that. take the old one, we'll just toss that in the furnace, so we're done with that. Alrighty, we're getting close to the end of this episode. So in future episodes, you'll be definitely seeing a lot more automation occurring now that we're sort of in a stable state at this point. We got water. I think the food situation is solved, and definitely need to put some lights in here. So get some lights mounted inside, and then we'll start the base expansion. And take our suit off. So it's useful, the portable light. But I didn't know about the wall-mounted lights when I built the portable light. Yeah, definitely the next episode I'll put a little chip in here so I can just drop it in and not worry about it going boom. What I'll try to do is like automate one thing, at least one thing per episode, starting the next one. Okay, going to need to put some more hydroponic trays in here when they seed. Yeah, it's sort of like that focus on getting the Invar so I can get the improved mining tool. I probably could have rushed that and got that earlier. Or I definitely could have got it earlier. Okay, that's the end of this episode. Until next time, see ya.